A good Erev Shabbos. Seder starts off with Terumah, that says, Dabani Yisrael yichli Terumah, take me Terumah. So it's interesting, the Lashon, I don't, the thing there, the Terumah is a thing which you give for a Kohen, this, for that. I guess called the word Terumah, even though Terumah can mean just giving off a donation towards it, but somehow the Lashon is used for a hecher. Right now he doesn't know what they're going to do with the money. He doesn't tell them. So there's a Hagdama to Masechta Smachos that starts off with that I think it's a Gemara also. It's they bring it there that the Reuven Feinstein Shlit, right? Because we yichli Terumah. In Terumah, he says, since we became Tomei by Moshe Rabbeinu, how did it become Torah? That's the kasha. He said, if you can say b'mayim, it can't be b'mayim. It only reaches up a little bit, whatever it is. So the Gemara answers b'eish, because eish has a mila that it says anything that can't be mavir b'eish, mavir b'mayim. But much better the real mitayar is eish, and eish the bench can make by the bench eichet eish. It's infinite. I don't answer the question. I don't have to. But the idea is somehow by the Gemara's question, he sees a Kohen. That means the Reuven Feinstein, everything that touches the Reuven Feinstein is a din of kedusha. It's not what he called hegdish. These things, that for sure. But I'm saying, but it's a din of kedusha. So he says, from who should you take it from? From Isha Sheyitvenu Liboy. And the person that's called an Adiv Leiv, that's willing to give it. What does that person mean? Mashma, that the Bensham is saying, I want you to take Terumah, right? It's Terumah C. I want you to take my Terumah. It's my Terumah. It means everything that I want to take is really mine in the first place. That's not yours. So a person who understands that and understands that it's really God's, and he's still and he's giving God what is his. So then that's the kind of donation I want. I don't want from a person that hasn't got that hasogya. We'll talk about in a minute with the Nesiim, even though it's not here. It's in to Parshas Ya'akov or Belamaisa. He's saying that that's what he wants, and that he wants from the Nediv Leiv, a person. So I'm not. So you understand? You're giving me mine. You're not giving me yours. That's the point. You're not donating anything to me. You're giving me mine. So therefore, I don't really have to tell you what I need the money for. And therefore, I'm asking what is Zor, V'Chesed, 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 and all the things there. I'm saying all these things, right? And then when he tells you for all the finished things, after Avnei Shor Avnei Luim Leifet V'Chesed, even though he didn't mention it before, so I'm first telling you if the things what I intend to do with this money. Now normally when you want to make an appeal, you want to open up a yeshiva, you want to do something like that, so you first go in and talk about the yeshiva. This is what I want to do, this is what I want to accomplish. We need donations, we need this thing, and then you expect people to get this. And here if I don't want the money coming that way. I don't want you doing it because you want something. I want it because you realize that it's my money, that it's mine. And therefore I can do whatever I want with it. It happens to be, I'm not going to do anything I want with it. I want to base a mikdash with it. It's because it's mine. That means the money is a different, what he called, the Benshlam's building. It's not even it's our building. We made it. We didn't make anything. The Bensham did it. He took the money, he took it, and he donated it, and he used it just for this and that, for that. That's the thing. It's all his. Okay. The kasha that you have is l'chayr veseli migdosh, right? And that's true of most of the stuff. But the avnei shoyim v'avnei miluyim, which is only for the big day kahuna, what are you going to explain with that? I mean, some of the other stuff is also for big day kahuna, but it was mainly for the Mishkan itself. You happen to be for whatever they needed for that too. But the Ikil Zach and the Avnei Miluyim, on these two things, Avnei Miluyim, they're only for the big day kahuna. There's no sheikhs to the bayis itself. And it says there, what are you going to do? Vasili migdash v'zachanti b'sheichad. That's not part of the Mishkan. The secondary thing you want. So you got to say that the B'yanison included in the Mishkan is the Kohen Gadol. In other words, you don't have a Mishkan. A Mishkan is not a building. A Mishkan has to have a what do you call it? A leader. Religious leader and anything like that. And could be for that reason the Kohen Gadol was a very dangerous job. But it took him, and then none of them lived because they didn't do the avodah that they were supposed to do the way the Prushim did. So they did the avodah and that was not right, and the Bensham killed them. So therefore there were so many Kohanim Gedolim in the second Beis HaMikdash because they were a lot of more tzedukkim and stuff like that. So you have that the Rebbeinu Shalom comes in, and it says it's not an avodah. It's not. You didn't accomplish anything. If you put Yisraelim to do the avodah b'yom yom, also would be the same thing. It's not an avodah. Avodah has to be a kohen, and therefore, so it's not just an Indian. It's not just an Indian of that we need someone doing the officiating. It's not called a korban. It's not called an avodah. It's not called anything unless the kohen is there. So these things is part of the avodah, meaning part of the Beis HaMikdash or the Mikdash is having a kohen gadol. That's a biyuchas. Now there is later on we're going to find the Nasiim were punished, even though they gave millions of dollars. They gave all the avonim and all the keteiros. What do you call it? These are the expensive items. They gave that for the Mishkan. And they took out the yud that they're not in the div leiv. So what's pshat in the div leiv? It's another pshat besides the fact that the recognition that it's not mine. There's also in the div leiv that pshat is that it has more than just recognizing it's not mine, but the idea is they were totally involved in the giving. What does it mean? They totally involved. He says they brought it baboikya. Even it was only 2 days. baboikya. What's pshat in the 2 days? They came the first day and they said, "What do you need today? What are you making today?" We're making whatever he's making that day. So each Yid came along and he figured out my chelik would come out to be this and this. So he brought him this and this, whatever it was. Okay, and that's what did it. The Nasiim came and they wrote him a blank check. They said, whatever you need, just get it, whatever you need, doesn't make a difference. But they were not personally involved. So therefore, they're not personally involved, you're not in the div leiv. You can give me billions, it doesn't make a difference. But you're not personally involved, it doesn't count. What do you mean doesn't count? I mean, how about they took it? Because the actual nivlev they were, when they wanted to give it. But Lamaisa, this nikude, it's a gefelt, and therefore until they did the kapora, weaving the 6 wagons and the 12 oxen, there was no, what do you call it? So they were not forgiven. So the pshat is they put the yud back in. But till then there was there's felt in this nikude that you figured a check could do everything, and that was one thing. It's not only them. It could be telling you that was the Ma'aseh Doim also. That normally so we have a din of demach soirei. Now when we give tzedakah, you have to give whatever is missing by the person, the oni, right? So therefore, we realize that it can be a very big inconvenience. In other words, if God come to you, knock on your door, assume you'll open the door at 12 o'clock at night, but someone knocks on your door at 12 o'clock at night, and he says, I'm hungry, you're going to have to feed him, because there's no stores at 12 o'clock at night, no restaurants. So you're going to have to feed him. And you're mechuyev to do it. There's no answer for you. So Stoim could have figured out, and I think that's why they gave the gold matbeya, whatever it is there, because even though they were anti-tzedakah later, but maybe at that time they could have been pro-tzedakah. In other words, but they didn't. They said if you want to give tzedakah, you want to get money, the easiest thing is make an appeal, write a check. If you make that you want people personally involved, you're not going to get them. So therefore, just ask them, we want your money. Money people are giving. If they have money, they'll give it to you. They don't need it. What are they going to do with it? So therefore, there's about other things, time, and effort, and things like that, they're not coming. So therefore, and that's why, Taki, you only have a few askonim that you have that really askonim, that to give you their time and their things, and then they go backwards. Money, a lot of people give you. They have it, it's an extra, so why not? So so they said that would work better. The only you'll get more money that way. And the more people commit themselves to such stock. All you want from me is money, fine, give me money. The problem that happened with the money is the people can die. That's it, if you do like Zdoim. Now it's I give you, if my chiv of stock is money, not work, not effort on my part. So if the stores are closed, and I'm potter, I gave you the check. What do you want? It's not my fault. Place is closed. It's closed. What are you gonna do? People are gonna die. So if people are gonna die, then you weren't mekayim stock. Even though it's a rare thing, it's not gonna happen all the time. It's a rare thing. But when it happens, it could happen. While the Torah says, it can't happen. And stuff like that. Now, even with Demach Seire, we all agree that sometimes the oni is going to like better money than the actual meal, because this way he has a choice where to go, what's the thing, there's the big differences. Abafal Pikain, the Chiyuv is to give you a need. That's the thing. So that's what they weren't involved personally. Once they gave the check, or they told them, you come back if you need, so that you didn't solve the job yet. You gave them, this be more than enough than we'll ever need. Maybe that will be enough, even though that's also nitkin yichus, because the ma'ila that the Japan overtook America in the car business many years ago. How did they overtake them? Very simple. America, if you had General Motors, right? They had a factory that produces cars, right? The body. Some factories produce motors. Some factories produce batteries. Some factories produce whatever else they put in there, right? Now, they don't all produce the same amount every day. So what happens is that the battery factory will produce, let's say, 50,000 batteries in a day. They only need 10,000 batteries because everything you have 40,000 extra batteries. So why don't you just make a smaller factory and stuff like that? I don't know. Maybe it's, can't make it smaller, or but what happens with the thing? So they have to have another storage house built up for the 40,000 that extra batteries you have. And besides the storage house, now you need a policeman to guard to know who's going to steal them from there. So in other words, you added on a tremendous amount of expenses. But all we would have made was 10,000 batteries that day. We have no storage, no what he called. Everything we may produce, we use right away, and it's going to be there. So you're saving a lot of money that way. So here also, if you get the money you need per day, you don't need like a director. You don't have to have a figure. What are you going to do with the money? Where are you going to put the money when we don't till we need it and stuff like that? So all of those things are unnecessary. They're unnecessary, so the costs are down. But I have to have trust in the people. If I don't have trust in the people, I want the money in the bank before I go dealing with people. If I trust people, so I don't need the money in the bank. If I get the money in the bank, it's not a mile to me. I have to go, it's a tircha for me. I have to go deposit in the bank. You got to go thing there. So that's another reason, could be why they're in the Taitcha of Nediv Lev. Okay, and he says, I want you to make an Ahren. The Ahren is going to be made of Atzei. I don't know exactly the density of Atzei. I assume it must be very heavy wood or dense wood. And you're going to cover it with gold. Okay, that's no problem. You're going to have badim to carry it with. Now badim are going to be poles. And where do you put these poles? You're going to put in 4 tabois of Zohar pure gold. Right? The most malleable metal in the world is gold. Now, it's for 1 ounce of gold, you can make a mile of wire. So that means it can make it very, very, very thin. And there's, I once saw years ago, I assume there's always so many mines, so I guess there's more gold now. But then, all the gold in the world was one bond. It was one big bond. That's all it is. All the gold in the world. So I love how come you have all this jewelry and everybody's got gold and everybody's got something there. You can make it so thin and so what he called, and it looks as good and as big. But gold was years ago was $100 an ounce, and the thing, and now it's several $1,000s an ounce, and somehow women are still wearing jewelry and still wearing this and still wearing that because it's a lot thinner than it used to be. It was, but it was once a little heavier gold now. Also, in order to make it that the gold is not malleable, that you can actually push it with your fingers, they put in alloys in there, and therefore the gold that we use for jewelry is 18 karat is already the expensive one, but that's softer than the 14 karat that's mostly in the thing there, that has a strong enough alloy that doesn't bend, it doesn't break, so push it, whatever it is. But in the Mishkan, the Yizor of Torah is 24 karat. That's quetchable thing, you can stretch it, you can pull it with your hands. No big yichus. I mean, it doesn't hold its shape and stuff. And these are going to support this Ahren. Now, what are you going to put in the Ahren? Let's see how heavy the Ahren was. So the Ahren is going to have in it luchis. So we had a younger man, Rabbi Leader, Mishur Leader, that he went and he checked the forgot the book which has all the weights of metals and stones and stuff like that, and he found that the weight of the luchis using the Rosh Hashiva's shiur of an amma it came out to about 5,000 pounds. And then you have the kaporis, which is going to be the size thick gold, solid gold. The weight of gold is also about 5,000 pounds. So therefore the oven weighed about 10,000 pounds. So you put it in and you're going to support it with two sticks that are held in perfect gold, in pure gold. It'll just stay on the floor. I mean, you couldn't possibly lift it up. It's not shaykh. It will break. You'll keep stretching the taboyas will stretch to the point it is, or it'll snap, or the bars will stop. The poles will snap. I mean, 10,000 pounds. How's it going to carry 10,000 pounds? So obviously this was also a big mess in the thing. So you'll say, well, now what's a big mess? Noisis noisov. The Aron, obviously they can't carry the Aron, so the Aron carried them, so they have to cash it now. But the Lashon is very funny. It says the noisi is noisov. They're carrying its carriers. If they're carriers, then they have to be carrying something. And if the thing is carrying them, then hitch on for a ride. That's all it is. It's not. There's no such thing that they're carrying. It's floating in the air. So Mashma wanted to tell you that they had to actually, to get it on their shoulders, they had to bend down and try to lift it up. And as they're pushing, and the thing that eventually gives them the siyata d'shmaya that they're able to pick it up, and now it takes off. Or whatever it is there. But the Maisa, it's going to be nice of. There's going to be people that carry it first, at least for a second, before they begin to take the ride. Okay. Okay, this is the scene, and the Greek, why the badim are always there, because the badim is a thing of transporting the Torah. The Torah is its symbolization. I mean, the organ is gone, it's hidden, so it's not a pshat that, it was never taken, it never traveled anywhere. It was the only time that ever had it was with the Plishtim, but when Shiloh was destroyed, that they captured the organ. But past that, you never had any other thing with the organ. No one ever found the organ. Was buried way before the Chum, so therefore they shouldn't ever come to a Shaila. So the Aron is what need the badim in there for? And the badim is not supposed to be because it symbolizes that Torah is maybe to move wherever you need it. It's something that has to be able to be transported. It's not something that stays in one place and stuff like that. And that's the Stukim's attitude. In other words, when they said the Torah, what will be on the when what do you call it? Yana Melech asked the Tzduki there what to do with with the Torah. If you kill out all the Chachamim, how do you do with the Torah? He says they put it in the corner, and anyone who wants to study it will study it. In other words, that means you just take what it says in the thing. You don't need a Rebbe, you don't need a Kabbalah. It's a Kabbalah of what it means and stuff like that. But that's not the Torah. That's the point. The Torah itself has to be something that travels and could travel to anybody in any place. And that's why the Tabois always have to be there. Okay. And you make the kaporas and you make kruvim on it. Now the Beniman made the kruvim from the psukim of in the end of Yisroi, or in the Aseret Hadibros, that you're not allowed to make any idols of Kesef Zov, is chutz for the kruvim. Now, with the kruvim, they were idols. Basically, they were shape of malachim, and the thing there, and not only the shape of malachim, one was a boy, one was a girl, and they signified those to an S, the ahava that a Beniman has to Klal Yisrael. And there's stuff like that throughout the time when Beniman loved us. So there was like a man and a woman, And when he doesn't, they were separated. And whatever it is, or also with their faces, or they looked at each other, they looked down on the kapiras, whatever it is, all these things. It was a question of to show the Avokos, and at the same time it's also the Mokum that the Nevuah came down to Moshe Rabbeinu through over there. So anyway, those were the point of the Kruvim. But and when I gave you the numbers before, the weight, I didn't count the Kruvim because we don't know how thick the Kruvim are. So the Kruvim were not counted in the weight that I mentioned before. Okay. And then it tells you should make a shulchan, right? A shulchan, and you should have also, you have to put on it lechem ponim. V'nasata v'shulchan lechem ponim l'fanai tomid. Now here it's not explicit if it's like the korbanos. That means that we bring it from the machzah shekel, or somehow the shulchan is not a shulchan without the lechem ponim, and therefore it should be made from the money of the Mishkan. On Parshas Vayakal, it's very clear what we do with it. It says there, I want you to collect all these 15 things that we called out, and it says, and what should you make? I want you to make es hashulchan, es badav, es kokelav, es lechem haponim. So lechem haponim has to be made from the money that they collected for the Mishkan. Now the question is, if that's the case, by the Ketayros and the Shemel Amor, which are all part of the avodah, not the avodah of the keli itself. In other words, the menorah is not a menorah unless it's lit, and the Ketayros and the Mizbeach Hazov, it's not a Mizbeach unless it has the Ketayros on it. These things are donated as is. In other words, we don't go out and give money and we go buy it. But the flour of the lechem haponim should be the same way. That donate flour and we'll go make lechem haponim from the flour that you donated instead of having to buy flour. The tiny that is the B'nishim, there's a big thing here. What's the difference between a menorah and a shulchan? The menorah is made for Torah. That's Torah, the Orcha Torah, whatever it is, the symbolizations of it. Fakert, we see, if you're davening Shemoneh Esrei, if you're davening southeast, that means your kids will be B'nai Torah. You daven northeast, you want your kids to be rich. I'm saying, so the shulchan is riches, so it's a more gashmistic thing than the menorah and so on. So yet you're telling me that this has to come from the stuff from the Mishkan. So the time is like this, because the B'nishim says, Ruchnius, if you don't do, then I can't do it myself. The Klal Yisrael has to do certain things. And if there's no Klal Yisrael to do it, it's not going to get done. They have to learn Torah, they have to do this, they have to do mitzvahs, something like that. It's Klal Yisrael. On the other hand, the shulchan, which is supposed to supply the means to get the mitzvahs that you need to do, that has to be, if I don't make it, that it's cheap enough for you to be able to buy it, then unfortunately no one will be doing the mitzvahs. So therefore it's up to me to make sure, if you would have given it yourself, then it's your job to make sure you can afford it. But if it's shot is you got to give money, and now you got to find out how to buy the money with the money you have, to buy the flour, I have to make flour cheap enough to be able to be bought by the money you have. Otherwise you can't do it. So therefore, that's the chiddush that the B'nishim wants for us. But, people shouldn't take it the wrong way and say, well, if God doesn't need us at all, so what do we got to give a donation for altogether? Because he only does this as after you give your donation. You make sure that what you donated will be enough to do the job. Not that he's going to do the job for you without your donation. That's another thing, though. And another thing. Then, yeah. And this he always had it in Fakert. The shulchan, when you took off to change the Shabbos, Shabbos, you replaced the lechem upon him, and they got eaten up. You could not replace it by taking off the lechem upon him and then putting on the new lechem upon him. That means there'll be a minute or a second that there's no lechem upon him on the table. That can't be. The table's not a table unless it has lechem upon him. So they had to slide it off at the same time, and they put it on, they were taking off. So they always had the lechem upon him. The Shaylit is, but by the Ketores and stuff like that, they only had to do it twice a day. So where do you have it all day? Maybe the dot luck of the Neiros is again the whole night. It burnt and the stuff like that. So maybe that's called all the time. As long as you know it, but the Ketores should only be. It's only burned 2 hours, 5 hours, but it didn't last 24 hours. This man. So why would it be considered the shulchan? My partner was on there 24 hours, 24/7. That's the difference. Right, so I can't answer that one. And the Menorah has a klal. That you have Kaftorim, Prochim, and Geviyim. That's on the symbolizations. This symbolization exists only when the Menorah is out of gold. So you have the Gemara, Menachos, it talks about when the Chashmonaim first recaptured Beis HaMikdash, so they didn't have a menorah. So they made a menorah first out of wood or out of stone. It's machlekes, wood or stone. And the thing there, the Sashru, they became richer, they made out of metal. The Sashru became richer, they made out of kesef. The Sashru, they became richer, they made out of gold. Now, what bothered me about this is that the battle, when they finally won, that they were able to recapture Beis HaMikdash, they wiped out over 100,000 Greeks. So I'm sure they all had spears and they all had some kind of a weapon. So if you would have taken all their weapons, you would have been able to make a menorah out of metal right away. So why was the pshat is that they took them 3 steps to make it out, or 2 steps to make it out of metal. First they made it out of wood and stone, which I would think would be much more difficult because you have to, this we cut, you make a mold and you pour it into the mold. When you're dealing with the, what do you call it, you're going to have to chip it and chisel it and whatever it is there. He says this, so I want to learn pshat that Nisashru doesn't mean they became richer, that they were able to afford a better material. Nisashru means their covered Torah became different. They became greater. So when they first took over, the covered Torah was pretty low. So when they were interested, what madrega was the menorah to represent there? We don't have, it doesn't say we didn't have gold, but I assume we didn't have. But we made it out of something, even though we have the metal. But the Torah is not in the madrega of metal. It's a madrega of a keli, but it's a blunt keli, a table, right? Something like that, a chair. That's what you're dealing with. So it has form, it has shape. You use it for things. But it's intricate. You can't make. It's not a precision instrument. You can't make it that skinny, that sharp, that what do you call it? Doesn't go. So that's a Torah. Like to give a mashal would be like when a guy would come to the rabbi, ask him a shayla, the Rav will tell him, the reason for this is this. Rabbi, please keep the reason. He said, just tell me yes and no. It's a tool. That's all the Torah was, a tool, a blunt. Okay. When obviously in the Shashru, they became richer. They became even that they appreciated the Torah, appreciated the Seforim and stuff like that. And the guy would explain to them the reasons behind the halacha. And now we reach the madrega, it can be metal. Metal in the green course is precision. I can explain to you exactly why it's going to be this way. You can make a very nice thin needle, a very nice thin thing. Can be very precision, very metal. Okay, so that's the important thing that metal was able to be able to do. So they got to that step. Nisashru, they became better, they became richer. It's not only that they were willing to listen to the Torah, but there's an attitude in things. Like sometimes I'm willing to listen to the Torah and explain it to her, but it's not a job that I want to live like. Right? That's not the Torah is not for a good Jewish boy. A Jewish boy has to have money, go enjoy himself, fun, stuff like that, to become a Klei Kodesh and stuff like that. That's not a job for a good Jewish boy. So therefore, so that was under the second madrega. It was precision. We want to learn, but I'm not going to be a Rebbe. I'm not going to be a Rav. I'm not going to be this thing. But I want the Torah. I love the Torah. It became kesef. It became a way of parnasa. That's what kesef is. Kesef is the money that's used for cash. That's parnasa. So therefore, it became parnasa. It became that. It's a job. It's a job that the person wanted to do and undertook on himself. Not necessarily great parnasa, but a parnasa. Okay. So that's nisashu. They weren't even great. They became more yoch than what the madrega. Let's say we have now. There are many people that not necessarily in the field, not in the same Dalton businessmen and everything. But they want to learn Torah. They constantly learn Torah with the Stafia and Yom or whatever they learn, or go to Shiurim and Tifi Shiurim. It doesn't make a difference what they learn, but they want to learn Torah. In other words, the Torah is, Pshat is, I want it. It's so choshev with gold. What do you do with gold? Gold has no value. I mean, I can't make anything out of it because they can't hold its form. So all of us, it's the only thing it's good for is for jewelry. Otherwise, but a guy wants to own it because I want to own gold. Gold I want to own. So therefore, he gets to that madrega. At that point, you mechuyev to put in givim, kafterim, prochim. Why? Because then the Torah has to have form. Once it becomes the property of the Hamoin, it has to have a form that we have to. This is the Torah. It's not whatever you make it into. Torah has a form. It has a Rebbe, it has a Talmud, it has a form, it has a way of being explained and stuff like that. And that's the point that the Torah tells you. So then when it gets to that madrega, when it becomes the property of the world, that's when you have to make sure that it's going to have that the proper design like this. Yeah. Okay, then they made the Mishkan. The Mishkan, in the actual translation of the word, we know it's a building, but it's not a building. It's a covering. It's a ceiling. It's not even a covering. It's the ceiling. There are 3 covers that we're going to find that are actually put on the thing. And the first one, the bottommost cover is Eserias. Like 10 curtains. They were 28 by 4, each 10, so it comes out to 40 by 28. What he called the Mishkan was 20 amis long and 10 amis wide. So you would have the Mishkan actually being the Mishkan overhanging the hole, I guess, that was put up by the boards of, what do we say was 28. So you have 4 arms on each side hanging down. And over there you have an extra, whatever it is there, a little bit. Then they put on top of that a covering, right? Down there. I want you to I want to make an oil on a Mishkan. That was a covering for the Mishkan. So that's going to be 30 amas, right? So it's going to be 2 more amas longer than the what he calls. It's going to be another arm on each side. So it comes down now approximately 5 amas on each side, right? Okay. 5 amas on each side. Okay, and the width, it also comes down, right? So at the end, when you're looking at it, and then on top of that, and so then you put over there, you also put mixel oil, covering on the oil. So, is anybody going to see the Mishkan? From the outside, you can't see it because it's covered. It has an oil on it, and then it has a right? So, where can I see it? And I go into the Mishkan. Now, where's the Mishkan? So, who goes into the Mishkan? And the Kodesh Kdoshim, only the Kohen Gadol goes on Yom Kippur. There's one guy all year. Right? The rest of the time, I guess there's avodah to put the ketores and the hadlokas haneiros, which is in the kodesh. So one kohen is going to have to go in and do that, right? So you have 2 kehanim or 3 kehanim going because ketores is each one was a new guy every time because he made you an oshim. So therefore you have 3 kehanim plus the kohen gadol. So you have during the year. You have approximately 1,000 kehanim that will see what the Mishkan looks like, what it even looks like. They won't see it, the whole thing. They only can see what it looks like from the inside. It's not, they see the whole full beauty. It's laying on the outside, and that they don't see. So all they see is that little part that's covering the hole that's there. So what do they see? Why is that important? And you have such precision and beauty that they made it into, so no one's zecher to see it. So to understand that the Mishkan, the beauty of Mishkan is not done just for art and that people should admire and stuff like that. It has the meaning of Kedusha, that people won't see it. And it's not negated to them be seen, but that's not the issue of what the purpose of it's being done. But you see that very clearly, that the Mishkan nobody really saw. Then you make kdoshim. Tells you to make the kdoshim, the beams. Now the beams were 10 amas high and an am and a half wide, and they're squared. The 10 amas is pretty tall in the thing there. It told me Moshe Rabbeinu was 10 amas, but that was yochid. I mean, it seemed that most people were less than 10 amas tall. That he had, and there's also machlekes in the shape of him. Was it a square top or a slanty top? In the top part. And see, but these have all beauty with how they did it. But these were the beams, and it was immovable. So what did you support it on? You're in a desert. Desert. There's, I don't know if there's any soft sand in the desert that they were in, but I think there was, because the way, especially with the new decision that it came through Saudi Arabia, not through the Sinai, would be that they may have hit soft sand. So again, how does it stand in soft sand? Would be only with the Adonim. In other words, that they made from each other, for each beam, you had 2 adonim, and they had like 4 sticks out. I don't know, like they formed the bottom of the beam had like legs to fit into the adonim. So the adonim, when they stand listed next to each other, and each one was a kikar. So therefore, it was pretty solid. I mean, the thing there. So this rested on the floor, and whatever it settled because it was solid, and therefore you got an even balanced mishkan that you're going to have over there. Okay, and so you do the thing there, and then you had you put actually beams. The poles through the beams. To hold it together, 5 of them, and then they had a bria chatiche. Then you had one that turned. So you saw the nisim right away. It's made of atzishitim, whatever atzishitim is, they said, whether it's solid, whatever it's solid, but it's one beam which had to be 40 plus 8 and something all the way around. That's how big the stick was, and it just kept bending. I mean, when he went around the curves to get into the next corner, it had to bend. And how does this pole bend? So obviously it was nisim and nisim, and that's really what we had over there. And that held it up, and that made it into the Mishkan itself. Okay. And the funny part is, we're going to learn later in Parshas Pekudei from Sipurna that the Mishkan, the Esiriyos, had to be put up first. Normally you build a building, you put the beams, you put the Adonim, which is the foundation, then you put the beams, then you put the Esiriyos, the Mishkan, then you put the cover on the Mishkan. No, here you're supposed to put down the Mishkan first. That's the first thing. And then you put, after the Mishkan, you put the Kroshim, you put the Adonim and then the Kroshim. That's it, something there. And then you put the thing on top of the oil, on top of the, what do you call this? Does it say it over here? Vayokom Moshe Mishmit is Adonov, Vayosim is Kroshov. You put first the Adon, then the Kroshim, then the Brichim, and then Vayokom is Hamudov, and then Vayifresh oil ala Mishkan. Then he takes the oil and puts it on top of the Mishkan, then the mitzvah on top of the oil. But the first thing that goes up is the Mishkan, because there's no repeat of the word Mishkan over there. That's why, so what he says, by Mishkan does not mean the building, it means just the Esiriyos went up. And then he had to put, they put afterward, eaten as Adonov, eaten this, and then he had to make it go up. That's how he did it. Okay. Okay, so that's the way Moshe did it. And the reason I think for that is because it's important that when you teach Torah, you can teach Torah, and we see it in Metzias. The yeshivas in New York are way ahead of, let's say, the yeshivas of out of town. Now, I'm not talking about the cities, Baruch Hashem, that maybe became already yeshivas Mokum Torah, big metropolitan areas of Jews, but the towns, the little towns where you have a day school and stuff like that. Big difference between the day school and the yeshiva. Yeshiva, usually, by the time the kid reaches high school, he's ready to learn all tastes. The kids in a day school, maybe he started learning Gemara, started learning tastes in the 8th grade. Maybe, usually not. Okay. What's the difference? The kids are probably just as smart and stuff like this. Why can't they know the same thing? It's how we teach them. In New York, I think the idea is, and it's done out of town also, I believe, that when a kid reaches high school, he's got to learn all Tosfos. He's got to learn all Tosfos. Then by the 4th grade, it's important we start Mishnayos. 5th grade, we start Gemara. And then we have a few years more, then by 6th or 7th grade Rashi, and Tosfos, and then whatever it is, and then by the time he comes into high school, he's able to learn all Tosfos. So we know we have a plan. That's what it is there. That's what the point of why it comes up first. We have a plan. We got to get to there. That's where we're aiming for. We're aiming that high. That's the thing there. So we have to have a way of how to get there. That's the point. What happens if we're not aiming for any place? We want to see how much Torah the kids can absorb. So you know what? We don't know if these kids are going to learn. Let's teach them Mishnayos. Oh, they learned Mishnayos. They even not a year Mishnayos. It's very good. It's a good thing there. So they don't up it. They're not aiming for anything. They're not aiming for anything. They put first one level, then the next level. It's when you decide the level is time to go, when you start to put it down, if you can have it, and therefore you don't get there. And I think that's the big difference between that in town and out of town, as we call it. But Lamaisa, it could be done without a town too. Is the one. Yeah, okay. And this is all gold and silver, I mean, the way they're supposed to be. Okay. Then you make a mizbeach of atishitim, which is hamishamish, right? The shadow is how big the mizbeach actually was. If it was 3 amas high or 13 amas high. So obviously the difference of where do you hold it, how to carry it, where do you put the kdashim. I mean, obviously, if it's only 3 amas high, that's as high as a man is, you can put the kdashim near the top of the mizbeach, so therefore the weight will less than anything. On the other hand, if you're talking 13 amas, that means there's got to be 10 amas above the people, and stuff like that. That means you have to have the kdashim on the bottom of the mizbeach. So then that's going to be very hard to balance. It's not going to be pushed to balance. So it could be that it was not that heavy, because don't forget it's mizbeach adoma that you did. So the even though it's made out of atishitim, and then the tisois and the choshes, but maybe it was a foldable type of a thing, and the mela wasn't that heavy because it was just made easy outside. So maybe that's why it was not big. Okay, and that's what you do. So the outside kalim on a choshesh. In other words, everything that's in the courtyard in the chutzah is made out of choshesh. Anything in the building is with a piece of zahav. So it's a big difference between the two. Mashma that when you go up madrege, you have to go up first choshesh, and then kesef, and then you're going to go into zahav. Okay. So you have, when they make the chutzah is made 100 by 50, right? And they had every 5 amas, they had another pole, and they had nechoshish was the bottom, the pole itself was, the top of the pole was silver. Okay. Chutz Mebam, okay. Hokra Mishkan, obviously he said, here's the one about the door to the Mishkan. Also, anyway, the doors of the Mishkan, the curtain that's getting into the Mishkan was on Kinchoshes. So also to tell you that, to teach you that lesson, that when you're going in the Choshes, but you're going into a place where it's going to become Sesef in a minute, and Zov. And therefore you got to go up, Madregi. You can't just bust in from nothing to everything, or outside we make it, take out everything the outside. We saw similar to this when the Malachim came, the ones on the ladder in Yaakov's dream. So it says, where was the legs? The legs was in Beis El, and the Reish, was in Beersheva. The head was in Beersheva, the legs were in Beis El. Right? No. The legs were in Beersheva, and the Reish was in Beis El. Right? And the Malachim are going up and down, and Rashi describes over the Malachim of Chutz La'aretz were going down to go to take Yaakov further, and the Malachim of Yisrael were going up. So it's interesting. The Chayri is going north. He's going south to north. So if he's going to north, it would have been better, the Chayri, if the ladder's legs were being in Beis El, which is in the north, than Beersheva, which is in the south. And here it comes out that the legs are in Beersheva, so you have to go backwards down to Beersheva, and then walk across Eretz Yisrael, and then first go into Chutz La'aretz. And if you're coming from Chutz La'aretz to go up L'Shamayim, you got to go through all of Eretz Yisrael to Beersheva, and then you first get on the ladder to go up, not in Beis El, to teach you that you just can't go up from Chutz La'aretz to L'Shamayim. You have to go through Eretz Yisrael to be able to go to L'Shamayim. And when you come down, to be ready to go from L'Shamayim into Chutz La'aretz, you can't go right away into Chutz La'aretz. You have to go through Eretz Yisrael to be able to go into Chutz La'aretz. And that's the thing though, so you have to go madrega. You can't, the shack is too big if you come down right away. And he signed by Avraham Avinu that Yaakovh pointed itself one time that the Avraham Avinu says 3 times Yachtov. It says for the first time when they before Yitzchak knew he was the Korban, it was Yachtov. When after he knew he was the Korban, and then when he came down to Yishmael and Eliezer and the Chamor, and he said the Yachtov, they went Yachtov to Beersheva. He says, what's the third Yachtov? He says, Avraham Avinu was able to go from that Kedusha of the Akedah to going with them and Amadem L'Chamor. He could do that. Yitzchak couldn't do it. Yitzchak is not found there. Yitzchak stayed by the Akedah. He stayed upstairs and stuff like that, because you can't just go from one into the other. You have to decompressionize. You can't. You have to have like when you go from with a different pressure. The thing, often you can't go from one to the other. You have to decompress a little bit, and that's what you have to do with Kedusha too. Anyway, have a good Shabbos. Next week, I think it's going to be early this year, but I don't know the time. I guess we'll be notify everyone before, because next year I have the Dirshu convention, so we'll make it. It'll be an early this year. Have a good Shabbos, everybody, and a good year, everyone.